Hey guys, and welcome to a Valheim video. Today we're talking about what you should do after you defeat the Elder Boss in Valheim. So after you defeat the Elder Boss, you get a Swamp Key. Now you're going to need this key to be in your inventory to be able to open dungeons in the Swamp Biome. Now the Swamp Biome will be a little bit further away from your starting point in the middle of the map, so you're going to have to sail out a little bit further until you find a Swamp Biome that looks like this. You'll see it by the giant trees, and it will also show up as like brown land on the map. It's usually easier to find a swamp biome by sailing out to sea, searching with a ship, but be careful where you leave your ship as monsters can attack it and destroy it, and then you have no way of getting back home, which is terrible. Now, once you're in a swamp biome, you need to be careful of these powerful enemies, such as the Draugr. The Draugr, they are like these kind of green, murky-looking enemies. They're quite decently strong. You'll find them in melee and also ranged forms, like some of them will have a bow, and you'll also get an elite version of one of them. The nice thing about Draugrs is when you kill them, you get entrails, which is like their intestines, which you can take home and cook and make sausages. It's gross, but it gives you big health. You'll also be able to find circling fire enemies if you're lucky enough. You'll basically see this giant fire like shooting out of the ground, and around there there'll be like these fire guys, like they're just on fire, and when you kill them, you can actually get a circling core. One of the enemies that you need to be really careful for are leeches, and they'll be in the water and they'll bite you, and I believe they poison you as well. Speaking of poison, you also get these slime blobs that will literally bounce, and when they get close to you, they'll just kind of like release a little poison cloud around them. And if you're nearby, they'll poison you, and for quite a long time. So don't get poisoned, because poison hurts a lot, and it's really hard to counteract poison. The other enemy type that you'll find is obviously skeletons. They're pretty much like all around this place as well. You'll find them in their melee forms. You'll also find them with bows. And if you're really lucky, I've only seen one, you can also find a wraith, which is like a ghost flying through the sky that you can shoot. And if you kill it, you can get a wraith trophy, which basically just looks like a ghost. Looks pretty cool. So one thing to keep in mind when you're in the swamp area, before you go to any of the crypts or dungeons, you should actually pick up some monster drops like those entrails from Draugr. You can also take down the new trees, the ancient trees, and you can get ancient bark to craft some new stuff. You'll also find this glowing green stuff sticking on trees, and you can actually mine that with a pickaxe, and I think an axe maybe, I'm not sure. And that also gives you some crafting recipes, I think, later down the line. I'm not too sure, though, on what, but for now, just collect everything. So what we're really looking for here in the swamp is crypts. These are basically your dungeon versions from the Black Forest. And you can only open a crypt if you have that swamp key in your inventory. So inside these crypts, you'll be searching for 4 things. The first thing is scrap iron, which you can find from the muddy scrap piles. These basic, kind of like rocks. It looks like a giant piece of poo blocking every single doorway. And obviously, since it is your iron ore, you're not able to teleport with it. Inside the crypt, you can also find the next boss location stone, which will show you where the closest Bonemass is located on your map. The other thing you'll be looking for are withered bones. These are like these really long bones the size of your leg, and you need 10 of these bones to activate the Bonemass boss fight. You can find them laying around on the kind of sides of just the random areas of the kind of crypt. And they also sometimes drop when you're mining the muddy scrap piles. And then finally, the last thing you're looking for are chains. You can find chains pretty much in the chests that you loot around in the area. The chests that you find in the crypt usually have a lot of scrap iron if you're lucky. But sometimes they can have ancient bark and things that you can sell for coins. Before even thinking about going to Bonemass immediately, make sure you have crafted iron weapons, iron armor, upgraded them as much as you can, because the Bonemass is not an easy boss to fight. He's actually probably like the steepest difficulty incline boss that you have to take on, because he's way stronger than what your bronze stuff is. And because you need a lot of iron to make all of this stuff, you need like hundreds. You probably need like 300 iron just to get all of this right. And if you want to make your life a whole lot easier with farming scrap iron, the fastest way is to then create a new world just entirely for swamp farming. Once you find a swamp, search for a crypt and start mining the scrap iron, and when your inventory is full, all you have to do is just log out and go to your main world, and in your main world, you can just drop off the scrap iron off at your base where you logged off there. Like, you can just be at you can be at your smelters, like just loading iron into the smelters, log off, go back to continue mining in the freaking crypt, and then log off and come back into your base again. Like, it's pretty easy. You can actually do this method for many things in the game. As a solo player, it helps a lot. So it kind of lets you avoid doing repeat trips. Back to the boss. So whether you fight him in the swamp world or your own world, just use his trophy that you get from killing him in your normal world after you beat him, so you can kind of like keep the rewards or get the special power at the altars. The best way to deal damage to the bone mass is with blunt weapons or frost arrows. And since frost arrows are not really easy to come by at this stage since they're in the mountains and we don't really go to the mountains just yet, the best way to actually deal damage to the boss then is with a blunt melee weapon like a mace or a hammer. I recommend the iron versions of each. I also recommend having sausages, cooked meat, and queen's jam to eat, because the higher your health is, the better, because you're going to be taking poison damage a lot during this fight. The most important thing with Bonemass is his poison attacks. If you get poisoned, you will almost certainly die from it. So it's best to take poison resistance food to eat beforehand, as well as some healing food to recover health during the fight. You can make healing mead and poison resistance mead at the cauldron back at your base, and then use it on a fermenter, which takes about 2 in-game days to make 6 drinkable items of each type. The healing mead that you make will heal you for 75 health and can only be used once every 2 minutes. The poison resistance potion lasts for 10 minutes when you take it. You will still take poison damage, but you won't take as much damage as normal. I recommend setting up a small base with a portal nearby the bone mass monster just in case you die. I actually found one of these like rock built things that are just like natural to the area, and I just like built on top of it, which was actually perfect for me. And once you find the boss location, you'll see there is a big skull in the ground and it's kind of glowing green, and this is the boss altar. So what you're going to do is you're going to use your withered bones on the giant skull to start the fight. Bone mass will spawn where the golden sparks are, and he will do the following attacks. So when you're far away from him, he will chuck a giant like ball of like green ballness. It's like a poison ball, and when it lands on the ground, it will summon slime monsters. So kill them before there's too many of them and they get in your way or they keep poisoning you. Just kill them. They're quite easy. The boss will also do a poison vomit attack. He usually kind of like angles his head like upwards. And after that, he'll like look down and he'll vomit like poison like all around in the area in like a big circle. So just be careful, move away from this, don't stand in it, and wait for him to kind of do the attack and then make him move out of it because he'll obviously chase you so that you can actually hit him again. You don't want to take unnecessary poison damage. His other attacks include basically a form of like melee swiping attacks, which you can use your shield to block or just move backwards to dodge these. You should be able to get 3 hits with the mace on him between his attacks where you can block in time before getting the full hit. Just watch what he does and avoid taking unnecessary damage. The method I used was to kite him around the giant skull in a circle and baited his melee attacks so that I can get close enough to hit him 3 times and block his next attack. And obviously when he does his poison attack, I just run away and I make him like follow me to his area that doesn't have any poison anymore. When my health got to about like halfway, I just used the healing meat to heal back up again, and then you can just kite him for like longer times. Because he's so slow, you can just keep running around the giant skull, having him follow you forever, and you can just wait for your next healing meat to go on off of cooldown and then just heal again. It's kind of easy to avoid the boss because he's actually so slow. So once you've killed the Bone Mass boss, he will drop 2 items. That is the Bone Mass Trophy, which you can take to the starting altars and place it on the altar there, and you'll be able to unlock his power, which is like physical resistance to slash, blunt, and pierce types of damage. Which is actually pretty damn good for most of the monsters that you fight in this game. As long as you have the ability activated, which is great. The other item he drops is a wishbone. The wishbone acts similar to the swamp key, as you will be needing it in your inventory for certain things, because this time we're heading over into the mountains. And I mean the mountains where you're going to need frost resistance mead because it's so freaking cold up there. And you basically have this wishbone in your inventory, and when it lights up, it means there's treasure or silver nearby that you can mine. So yeah, I'm going to leave you guys with that information. I will be making a video on what to do after the Bone Mass boss fight and how you can progress your way up into the next boss, Mother. I hope this video was helpful, and thank you guys for watching.